Hi, I'm Ginger Zephyr, and this is the Pricing on the Cake.
Welcome to another episode of the Pricing on the Cake, the podcast that's all about growing a profitable business confidently. I'm Courtney Rogers, an award-winning business coach based in Brisbane, Australia, and today's episode is sponsored by Path to Profit, or PTP for short. PTP is my group coaching membership where I help women like you go from a place of overwhelm and uncertainty in your business to help you build a profitable business with clarity and confidence. On today's episode, I'm chatting with Ginger Zephyr. Ginger is an Australian traveling stripper who documents her experience within the adult entertainment industry on her YouTube channel. Ginger also has expertise in reiki, tarot reading, and coaching. She's passionate about the power of personal development, conscious living, and reducing the stigma around sex work. So awesome. Ginger, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm really excited to chat to you today. I think the first and foremost, the question that I'd love to ask is something that I can imagine a lot of people would be wondering, and that is how and why did you get into the adult industry?
So when I got into the adult entertainment industry, it was actually because I was broke. It was not something that I had set out to do. I know that a lot of people enter the industry because it's something that they're really curious about. But I was at a point in my life where I needed to pay some bills and I didn't have any means of income. So I kind of just applied for all the strip clubs in Brisbane and just had to suck it up and work at the first one that got back to me. It didn't matter how nervous I was. It didn't matter how overwhelmed I was. I had to do it, and I'm really glad that I did.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. No, that's really, really good. What were your expectations going into it? Did you have a certain expectation in mind of what it would be like and how it might impact you? How did that change as you got into it?
So when I first started, the only thing I really wanted was just to make some money. That was my only intention or expectation going into the industry. And of course, I entered the industry thinking, okay, I'll do this for a few months until I get on my feet. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it has obviously been a lot longer than just a few months. So that has definitely changed. I realized how much personal power I gained from being a stripper and the industry itself. And I realized how well suited I was for the job, because I've always felt uncomfortable being an employee and not working for myself. Mm-hmm. And entering the adult entertainment industry allowed me to work for myself and make my own rules and be my own boss in that kind of way.
Yeah. So you had a lot more autonomy there than you were probably expecting initially.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. What do you think is the state of the stigma around sex work? Because obviously, when some people think of, stripping and strip clubs and that sort of thing, they have this image in their mind of this dark, creepy club, and it's, it's not safe and it's a bit dodgy and things like that. What do you think about that stigma? Is it changing? Do you feel like it's getting worse or getting better? Do you feel like people are more open to that kind of work now?
I definitely feel as though it's changing. For instance, when I went into the industry, it was 2015 and TikTok wasn't around then. There weren't really many, because these days there are a lot of strippers on Instagram, and strippergrams are a big thing. And YouTube, what I do now, that wasn't really present when I first entered the industry. So I didn't really have any reference points. I didn't really know anyone in the industry, in my personal life, that I knew of, or I didn't really know anyone on the internet that I could refer to. And I think now that social media has allowed more people in the industry to have a voice and to document their experiences. I mean, Instagram's still shutting people down, videos are still getting flagged on YouTube, but because there are more people publicly owning the fact that they're in the industry, I definitely feel as though the stigma has reduced a lot. But having said that, I feel as though I'm at a place where the people that I interact with and my little like corner of the world is very inclusive. And I'm not often exposed to people who would necessarily stigmatize sex workers. So
I don't know about it.
Yeah. I don't know how much of that perspective is limited by my own little bubble.
Yeah, definitely. How much truth is there, would you say, to, you know, the kinds of fears that people might have around the industry in terms of like the safety aspect or, you know, the impact on mental health and things like that? I know you said you're really glad that you entered the industry, and obviously you've been in it for some time now, and there's a reason for that. How true are those fears, or are things still blown out of proportion quite a lot?
I feel as though there is always going to be like an aspect of like safety being a concern in the industry. And that's one thing that I feel as though a lot of people on the internet who are publicly posting about their experiences in the industry, a lot of them I find these days, we get kind of caught up in wanting to like make everyone feel as though like, oh, this is safe, this is empowering, and they want to kind of like prove why they're in the industry and why it's good, but they sometimes disregard some of the negative aspects of the industry, and safety is a concern. But I do feel as though because you become more autonomous in the industry itself, things that might have been like safety concerns when you first started, because you build a thick skin and because you build a different way of interacting with people, and because you become more confident and more able to set boundaries, I feel as though the longer you're in the industry, the more you're able to handle any kind of problems or issues.
Yeah, definitely. What do you wish people, especially women, knew about the industry?
That's a tough one, because I feel like there's a lot I wish people knew. And I think that has kind of shifted in like through my own personal experiences. I know that when I first started the industry, I wanted people to know that it wasn't as like demoralizing, or as I wasn't like selling myself, or I wasn't doing anything I wasn't comfortable with, that I was in a like controlled environment. But now I would say I want people to know more like what the industry is like as a whole, rather than it just being like the glorified aspects of the industry being shown on social media. And knowing that it is like it does require a lot of skill, it requires a lot of confidence, and it requires a lot of personal like grit in a way.
Yeah, definitely. And so when you talk about, you know, going into this industry and you found that, oh, actually I'm my own boss, like I make a lot of decisions for myself, I'm very autonomous. Why do you think it's important for women in the industry to take on that mindset that they're essentially a business owner?
So in the stripping industry?
Yeah. Why is it important? Why is it important for them to take on that mindset when they're in the stripping industry, rather than thinking like, oh, I'm just a staff member, I'm just an employee?
Because I feel as though in the industry, obviously, like anything that we change or like realize in one aspect of our life crosses over to other aspects of our lives. And once you gain more control about like over your income and your place of work, you're able to gain more control in other areas of your life as well. And I feel like it strengthens so many other aspects of a woman's life if they decide to go into the industry.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you said before that you're really glad that it's an industry that you stepped into. What are some of the reasons for that it's been a positive experience for you?
I just feel as though my personal power has really improved. I feel as though my personal integrity has improved a lot as well. I feel as though I'm working in a job where I can kind of take the reins and I can decide like I want to work here, or like I want to work this day, I want to work that day. I feel freedom is really important to me, having personal freedom, being able to go wherever I want to go and do whatever I want to do. That's very important to me. And I feel as though this industry has really opened that door for me.
That's awesome. It's really, really important, I think, to, pick a line of work that really aligns with your values and what you need as a person and what you see your life looking like. And, there are not a lot of jobs where you can have that freedom to go, you know what, I just want to be in a different city this weekend, or, I want to go here for a week or things like that. So that's really, really awesome. What would you say are some of the biggest business lessons that you've learned by working in the industry?
I think business-wise, I feel as though business-wise, I've learned that confidence sells more than anything else, and your own like belief and the way that you carry yourself and the way that you present yourself has more to do with making a sale than the actual thing that you're selling yourself.
Yeah, I have to absolutely agree 100% with that. Confidence plays such a big part. It signals so much like expertise, and it can put people's mind at ease. When you're in a selling scenario, if you're not confident, your buyer or your customer is not going to be confident either, right? If you're nervous or unsure or experiencing that doubt really viscerally within yourself, they're going to get a sense of that. They're going to get a whiff of that, and they're going to be like, oh, well, they're not confident. Why would I pay them, right? And I can imagine, as you said, like, sex work is an industry where you do need a lot of confidence. You need a lot of grit. You need to be able to be clear on your boundaries and hold yourself well. I can imagine that growing that skill would make such a big impact overall on your income, but also, on your performance in general. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. And also in my personal life as well, being able to apply if I'm asking for something in public, or if I'm trying to order something at a restaurant, or if I'm trying to assert myself, I find like applying the way that I would interact in the strip club with people, I like just adapt the same body language, and I make sure that I think in a similar way, so that when I'm asking for something, I'm able to have that same kind of confidence. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with like making a sale. It can translate into my personal life as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. I think if we could like bottle up your confidence and your boundary setting and sell it with, you'd make a shit ton of money. That'd be awesome. A lot of the women that I work with come to me because confidence is one of the biggest things that they struggle with. They go into their business because they're passionate and they're hardworking. They really want to create a certain type of life for themselves, very similar to you. You had your own goals when you went into the industry. But for many of them, confidence is just something that does not come naturally. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. Women are socialized to not, think super well of themselves, not speak well of themselves. We're taught to be quiet and just suck it up and get over things and things like that. So I think having that skill would be so important and so like empowering, as you said earlier, because not only do you have it in the club, but you have it in other areas of your life, and that must be really, really empowering as well. And so I want to talk now about your other services as well, because I know that you also work as a coach, you work as a Reiki and tarot practitioner as well. And I also just want to make a note here. I have done a couple of Reiki sessions with Ginger. Absolutely, absolutely awesome. I can't speak more highly of you. After my first session, like the next day I went to work and I was so motivated and so energized. I had not felt that excited to work in my business for like a year or two. Like it just made a massive, massive difference. So if, healing or energy healing or Reiki, or that is something that you have thought about, if you just want to get like your shit together, your internal shit together, like go see Ginger. She's just awesome. But yeah, I'd just like to give you an opportunity now to talk about how these other services came about. Why did you start to come out doing coaching? How did the Reiki and tarot come about? Tell me a little bit more about them and what they mean to you and the sort of things that you help people with.
So I had always wanted to get into tarot, and I'd always wanted to get into Reiki. The thing is, I've always been a spiritual person, but I found that when I was working as a stripper, my spirituality would kind of like lessen. Would kind of lower, and I wouldn't be able to really connect with myself on a spiritual level in the way that I wanted to. And whenever I took a month away from the club or something, I would feel my spirituality kind of flourish again. And so when all the clubs shut down because of COVID and everyone went into lockdown, I thought to myself, okay, I don't know how long I'm going to be off work for, but I know that I'm going to like connect back to myself spiritually, and I need to put practices in place so that when I go back to the club, I'm able to maintain this so that it doesn't diminish. So I spent 4 months while the club was closed working through ways that I could maintain like a high vibration, maintain my spirituality while I was working in the strip club. And then I started up it was an Instagram page that was originally called High Vibe Stripper, and then kind of I turned it into High Vibe Hustler instead, just because Instagram was cracking down on stripper content. And I started like sharing tips and ways of which strippers could maintain their high vibration, their spirituality in the club, because I thought like, I surely can't be the only person experiencing this. There's got to be other people as well. And then I gathered as many resources as I could, and then I engaged with like the coaching industry for the first time, and then I got into coaching. I started pushing myself to get involved with Reiki, because I'd been making like excuses for myself for years.
As we all do.
Yeah. So I had my Reiki attunements, and then not long after that, I got into tarot as well.
Awesome. And what are some of the ways that you see these practices benefit people, not just people in the industry, but also outside that as well?
I feel as though it kind of allows people to accept things that they haven't really been allowing themselves to accept. And it also puts people in the place of receiving and allowing themselves to experience, like, whether it's like comfort or love or guidance. And automatically, once you put yourself in the state of receiving, then you open yourself up to receiving other things as well.
Yeah, definitely. I've noticed, and I've read about, and I've noticed a big, sort of connection between being able to receive that healing and that guidance, and then other things in life just start sort of coming your way, because you're now sort of not held down by any blocks there or that. For anyone who doesn't know, who's listening, who doesn't understand like what it means to be high vibrational, can you give a brief definition of that?
Well, I suppose everyone would have their own interpretation of what high vibrational is, but I personally view like high vibrational as like you're embracing your inner power, you're connected with the world around you, and you're not engaging with anything negative. And if you are engaging with anything negative, like, you can turn it around and be like, okay, thank you for that, but I'm not going to engage with it. Because I mean, like, we all have to have like the dark. That's just part of it. But it's a way of interpreting the dark and making it positive and allowing it to empower you rather than drag you down.
Yeah, definitely. Would you say that, like practices like these, like Reiki, like tarot, like things that really focus on your energy and your spirituality, would you say that they're important for everyone to be doing on some level? And what kind of impacts might people see in their day-to-day lives, like whether it's in their confidence or in their business or as a parent and things like that? How can that help people?
Well, it would all boil down to whatever anyone feels in alignment with. I mean, like, we don't have to practice like Reiki or tarot. There could be another modality that could be more suited for someone else. But I think anything that like allows you to turn inwards, even if it's just like meditating for 5 minutes a day, anything that allows you to just like release any attachments that you have with like the physical world and just like go inwards to reset yourself, even if it's just like taking a moment to like hug a tree or something.
Yeah.
Even little things like or asking the universe for a sign and just allowing yourself to see what comes up. Even I know this sounds a little weird, but sometimes I'll like, if I'll see like a cat or like a dog, just like, or an animal on the street, sometimes I'll just kind of like go up to it and maybe like I'll pat it or something. and I'll kind of like have a conversation with the animal in my head, and it's like having a conversation with the universe. And it's like that, I mean, that could easily take the place of tarot.
Yeah, it's really dependent on the person and what works for them, and you know what they're comfortable with and feel like they resonate with. It sounds like. Yeah.
Whatever anyone feels guided to doing.
Yeah, definitely. I think because I about a year ago now, I separated from my husband. We were in a very, very religious marriage. And so it was only coming out of that I got to finally have the freedom to explore my spirituality and go, what do I believe in? Like, what's important to me? What are my values? And that has been such an awesome journey. And I don't think enough people do it, and it may be something that, you're just not interested in, and that's totally fine. But I think if it's something that you feel like could help you, or benefit your life in some way, it's definitely something worth looking into. What business lessons that you learned in the stripping industry do you find that you now apply to, say, the Reiki, the tarot, the coaching?
One thing that really surprised me that I learned during my time stripping has been the fact that I've become more in tune with my intuition. And it's kind of allowed me to, because I mean, like, I'm bearing my body, like I'm being naked, I'm in touch with my body a lot more, and being in touch with my body, it allows me to be in touch with my intuition, like noticing if I'm talking to a customer and I get a strange feeling, if I just have this like intuitive hit to like go somewhere, or if my legs are just like, okay, like we want to get up and walk, and then we end up walking somewhere that really like benefits me. Stripping actually it really surprised me how intuitively I was able to become. Okay, I said that wrong. I was really surprised by how intuitive I was able to become, like through stripping, just because I'm raw, I'm so connected to my body, and obviously being intuitive really helps with Reiki and tarot as well.
Yeah, sure. So I can imagine some of the women listening to this are probably thinking, well, I mean, that's all well and good. You had the confidence to go and do stripping. I don't have the confidence to do that. How do I find confidence in myself, in my business? What advice would you give to women who are running a business, and whether it's sex work or not, to help them with their confidence levels?
I know, okay, hear me out, but what I have to say is like, fake it till you make it. That's what, like, because I entered the industry, like I didn't have the confidence, I didn't know what I was doing, and I just had to kind of pretend like I knew what I was doing. And I find when I started working at clubs, when I was selling prices that were higher than the prices at the previous club that I worked at, anything that kind of challenged me, I realized that, okay, I've got to pretend like I've got it all together. And then eventually, like, you convince yourself. So even if it's like modifying your body language, changing your posture, and even like saying things to yourself in the morning, like writing affirmations, smiling to yourself in the mirror, like writing down, like scripting out what you want to happen, and just surrounding yourself with the vision of success, even though it might not feel authentic. The more you familiarize your subconscious mind with it, the more you'll be able to integrate that into your life.
Yeah, I have to say that is music to my ears, because that is very, very similar to the exact advice that I give people. Like, oftentimes, especially with price increases, people will feel nervous. They'll be like, oh my gosh, like, what if they say no? Or what if it turns people off? Or what if someone gets upset? And, some of the things I will say is like, you need to believe in yourself, whether A, like you believe in your product or service, and B, do you believe in yourself? Because if either of those two things are out of whack, you're not going to be able to deliver it in a way that's confident and assertive. And like you said, it can be really simple things, like when you're thinking about your prices or you're thinking about selling, just changing your body language, straighten your back, put your shoulders back, lift your head up high, smile at yourself in the mirror. All of those are going to change the way you think about yourself and change the way you think about selling. So no, I think that's really, really good advice. And especially the affirmations as well, because like you said there, it might not feel authentic. And I know some of my clients have, when I first tell them to do affirmations, they're like, oh, this isn't really me. But it takes a while to feel comfortable with it. But the truth is it works. It works so beautifully to just really rewrite the narrative in your brain, help give you that belief in yourself, which leads to the confidence, which leads to putting yourself out there. And it's like a snowball effect. Absolutely. I really, really enjoyed our chat today. Is there anything to end? Is there any advice you'd like to give to the women in the audience in terms of, where they're at in their business, in terms of confidence or anything like that?
I just want to add, you're more powerful than you realize.
Awesome. Oh, love that. Love that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ginger, for being on the show today. If people want to get in touch with you, how can they do that? So I
post stripper vlogs and stripper content on my YouTube channel, which is Ginger Zephyr, GingerZephyr. And I also have an Instagram, which is at High Vibe Hustler.
Awesome. Highly recommend the YouTube channel. Also, you have another YouTube channel, High Vibe Hustler, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Where you do share quite a lot. You have a lot of pricing videos on there. That's actually where this episode came from, because I saw you talking about setting prices and charging your worth, and I was like, I've got to have this woman on my podcast. That's awesome. Alrighty, guys. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to hear more content. And if you have a business buddy or someone you think would benefit from this episode, please share it with them. You never know who it may help. If you would like some more free content, then I'd love to invite you to join me in my free Facebook group, Pricing on the Cake. It's a growing and bustling business of women like you growing their business and growing themselves. As always, if you do want to get in touch with me, you can do that by sending me an email to admin@courtneydeegan.com. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time.